Yeah, so being the backup astronaut is an old tradition. Of course, by the time the years have passed and the prime crew is ready to go for on orbit, the rocket is ready, the entire team is ready, this train is going. So should there be a last minute problem with the prime crew, we need someone else to jump in. So there's always been a backup crew assigned, and it's part of a bit of a dress rehearsal for the backup crew. So this is where we are right now. Typically a medical problem. That would be the most common scenario. But at the last minute, it has never really happened. It's happened a couple of times in history, a few months before. By the last minute, we're very, very careful, as you can imagine. Yes, for a guy like me who's pretty, I like to go out a little bit and see my friends and be with my family. This is a little bit difficult. I'm sitting on my hands. We do a lot of review, refresher training. We've done all our exams before coming here to. We're right now in Kazakhstan in Baikonur at the Cosmodrome where the rocket would launch from in a couple of weeks. We have done all our exams. We're all ready to go. We're just doing everyday reviews of the procedures, a practice of manual flying. And then, of course, we go to the gym. We get checked out by the doctor every day. And it's a bit of a catch-up time if you want to catch up with admin and family matters. And, people can't help having on your mind that even though I'm just a backup, there is a non-zero chance that I actually will take off in a couple of weeks. Completely, yeah, because something as benign as just a common cold would be bad news for someone launching on orbit, having to do, a lot of pressurization of their spacesuit and already being in zero gravity, because of fluid shift, you feel very congested anyway to start off. So if you have a cold on top of it, not to mention, imagine if you have gastroenteritis or something like that. So even those benign common infections would be bad. So you can imagine if you break an arm. So this is a mission to the International Space Station. So the astronauts who will leave in a couple of weeks are going to be there for about 6 months. My crew and I will be there following them in December. We will go to a space station shortly after they have returned to Earth. So these missions are scientific missions where we conduct hundreds of experiments on behalf of scientists in Canada and in other countries. We might also have to use Canadarm for robotics operations and perhaps don a spacesuit to go outside station should there be any repairs that need to be done. Yes, so in December it will be our turn to be the prime crew. We will have the following crew will be our backup crew. So it's like a musical chair like this. We call it the single flow to launch, where you go through training, you do your exams, you come here to the launch pad as a backup crew, and then 6 months later, it's your turn to be the prime crew, and the crew following you are your backup. And it goes on like that. It's been going on like that for more than a decade. Yeah, you're right. So it's been years of training and theory, a lot of theory and training in simulators, and somehow kind of all felt like this was a maybe space camp, not the real thing. But now we're getting near the real thing. Just a few days ago, I tried on my spacesuit, not a trainer spacesuit, but a real one that's custom sized to me. We fitted it inside the real rocket and the real capsule, and it suddenly everything has a feel of reality to it. So there's a lot of anticipation in the air. Training, it's all difficult. The most difficult part is to juggle it all, to spread your energy correctly and wisely, so you make it to the finish line. And one particular aspect, I have a young family, a working spouse, so having to juggle, the infamous work-family balance. It's like anybody else who loves his job and loves his family. It's a constant challenge. But thankfully, with good teamwork with my spouse, we make it work. So a similar mission to the one I described. So to the one that's going to start in June. So we're going to leave the Cosmodrome and Baikonur on a Soyuz rocket from the Russian Space Agency. Going to be 3 of us on board, myself, a Russian cosmonaut, and an American astronaut from NASA. We're going to go to space station, where we're going to stay 6.5 months, roughly, according to the current plan. And we're going to conduct science experiments on behalf of a lot of Canadian experiments, of course, kind of focused towards the time when there's a Canadian on board. The focus of Canadian experiments are typically medical sciences. So I have a background as a physician myself, so it'll be very interesting for me to see all this happening on board the space station. I'll be myself the guinea pig for a lot of those experiments. Yeah, so the theme of a lot of the Canadian Space Agency sponsored research is remote care medicine, and with applications you can imagine on Earth for all the people in Canada that live in far away from big city centers and that still have access to high quality medical care. We need remote care medical technology, and space is the best place to develop those technologies. Well, so you're busy with work already, and then there's a lot of looking out the window, I think, I assume, and taking photos. We all have our different, personal hobbies. So people take a lot of, memorabilia from their family, things that remind them of their loved ones. If they do any hobbies. We just don't have a lot of luggage space, It's like a small backpack you can take for about 6 months. I'm going to bring, I know for sure I'm going to pack my old Rubik's Cube that my dad gave me when I was a child. And I'm going to bring a couple of books, but probably electronic versions, because I'm a big reader. And I'll certainly bring some, jewels from the family to fly them on orbit with me, our wedding rings, for example, things like that. I've asked friends and family members to provide me with small objects of significance to them that could fly in space with me.